In today's video, I will be discussing the Silver Gate and Golden Gate. This is a story of death and resurrection, similar to that of the story of Jesus in the Bible in the New Testament. The Silver Gate and Golden Gate. The story of these gates came to us through ancient Egyptian stories, probably inherited from Atlantis. It talks about 2 points in space situated at the meeting points of the ecliptic and the galactic midplane. The ecliptic is the plane that is along the axis of Earth's rotation. The constellations, it is pointing at our zodiac constellations. Our galaxy, if looked at from outside of it, looks like a flat disk. This is what we call the Milky Way, a concentration of stars along a flat axis called the galactic midplane. The Earth ecliptic and the galactic midplane have a 120-degree tilt. The Golden Gate is situated near the Scorpio constellation. It is in the direction towards the galactic central sun. On the other side, we have the Silver Gate near the Taurus constellation. It is in the opposite direction of the central sun. Orion, masculine archetype, is nowadays usually depicted as a warrior hunter, but this is an interpretation I don't agree with. I much prefer this version. Orion in ancient Egypt was Osiris. Every month, our sun and earth align with a different zodiac constellation. On the ecliptic, for example, in May, we align with the Taurus constellation. It is interesting to note that near the Golden Gate is the constellation Ophiuchus, a constellation that isn't considered to be part of the zodiac by the mainstream, but it does touch the ecliptic and is therefore considered by some to be the 13th sign in our zodiac. And as we all know, the Last Supper depicts 13, the 12 apostles, including Jesus, which makes 13. So there is a clue as to what's been hidden for a while, and we're going to bring all that to light. This makes sense since zodiac signs are connected to our months, which are connected to our lunar cycles, and the moon goes around the earth 13 times during the time it takes the earth to revolve around the sun once. Many ancient calendars had 13 months a year. It has also been said that because of the earth's wobble, the ecliptic points towards Ophiuchus late November, early December, for only half of a precession of the equinox, and then points towards Orion late May, early June for the other half of the precession of the equinox, which is roughly 13,000 years, a number synchronicity with our 13 months. We would therefore have 14 zodiac signs, but only 13 each year. Orion and Ophiuchus are pointing exactly at the Silver Gate and the Golden Gate access points. So if we think about this, we have 14 zodiac signs, which, if you are familiar with the Bible, there's actually 14 tribes, 14 sons that Jacob has. We have Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Naphtali, Gad, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, Ephraim, Manasseh, Benjamin, Dan, and then, of course, the only girl, who is the 7th born of Leah and the 11th born from Jacob. So there is a mystery there in that she is 7-11, right? That's one I've been looking at and trying to figure out what the hidden code is there. She's 7-11. That's Dinah, the only girl child, which they don't list her as one of the tribes, but obviously it's kind of like the hidden zodiac of Ophiuchus as well. So no, they didn't want to acknowledge Ophiuchus in the same way that they don't want to acknowledge Dinah or Dinah, I don't know how you pronounce it. So In Secrets in Plain Sight, Scott Onstadt shows a very clear obsession the controllers of our world have with these two gates, referencing it a lot in architecture, movies, etc. The most striking examples being the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco and the Vatican flag depicting a silver and golden key, perhaps symbolizing the way they seek to lock these gates. Scott Onstadt also showed that the metal silver resonates with the moon, which is a feminine archetype, and that gold resonates with the sun, masculine archetype. I highly recommend his documentaries, which contain a very rich stream of clear information. The Silver Gate is located between the horns of Taurus, the bull sign ruled by Venus, which is another name for Isis, divine feminine archetype. Isis is usually depicted with horns, and the Silver Gate between them in a very prominent way. The enslavers of our world have sought to hijack this energy in their financial system with, for example, the dollar symbol, 2I and 2S, standing for Isis, the famous bull statue in front of Wall Street, and the word for money in French being argent, which means silver. Money is obviously linked to our sense of being nurtured, supported, and connected to our environment by the ability to create in it. When one is in the enslaving system and deprived of money, one can feel alienated, abandoned, and all alone, disconnected from unity, which is the feminine energy. And we do know that in our current world, we do have an imbalance of masculine and feminine energy, which is really an imbalance of your brain hemispheres, because one hemisphere of your brain is masculine, the other one is feminine. We're supposed to balance our internal masculine and feminine energies, and that is the marriage of the man and woman that happens internally. So we're supposed to marry the masculine and feminine energy and balance those out. That's part of the ascension process. That's part of the raising of the Kundalini energy as well. So on the other side, I'm logically assuming that the Golden Gate is linked to Isis's complement Osiris, divine masculine archetype, whose story of death, rebirth, and underworld resonates with the zodiac sign Scorpio. The Scorpio sign is often considered to have 3 stages of evolution: the scorpion, then the snake, then the eagle. It's interesting to see how if we go from the galactic center towards our sun after passing through the Golden Gate near the Scorpio constellation, we pass through the snake of the Ophiuchus constellation, and then through the Aquila, the eagle constellation, as seen on the above picture of the Golden Gate location. Then we pass through our solar system towards the Silver Gate, as seen on the above picture of the Silver Gate location. Just before entering the Silver Gate, we pass through the Lepus constellation and then the Orion constellation. Orion in ancient Egypt represented Osiris. Lepus was said to be Osiris's boat to journey every night to the underworld, situated through the Silver Gate by following Anubis's lead. Next to the Lepus constellation is the Canis Major constellation, the dog, that the ancient Egyptians associated with Anubis, the dog-headed deity. The Lepus constellation is nowadays depicted as a white rabbit, a widely used symbol in nowadays media. For example, in Alice in Wonderland and Matrix, the white rabbit is followed down the rabbit hole where we can choose between 2 paths: cakes that make you tall or small, blue pill and red pill, one of these paths leading into another world. In Matrix, Morpheus even says, you take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. As an additional synchronicity, many cultures have seen a hare guide towards the Silver Gate on the surface of the moon, feminine archetype linked to silver and Silver Gates. Additionally, Ophiuchus seems to actually represent Isis. This constellation depicts a snake handler, a feminine attribute associated with many goddesses. The myth of Ophiuchus is that of a man healer who resurrected Orion. Isis is a woman healer who resurrected Osiris. The Ophiuchus myth is part of ancient Greek mythology, which is composed of stories that were passed down from ancient Egypt, sometimes losing their essence in this process. As we know, Orion is actually Osiris, and therefore Ophiuchus is actually Isis. This constellation was removed from the mainstream zodiac in an attempt to suppress divine feminine energy, disconnecting people from the 13 zodiac moon cycle by changing the calendar, and hiding the Isis constellation by changing the myth. It's interesting to note that when Osiris was killed, he was split, disconnected individually into 14 parts, our 14 zodiac constellations, and resurrected and put together by Isis, Unity, who could only find 13 pieces, the 13 zodiacs per year. The missing piece was his phallus, and she made a golden one to replace it. Perhaps the additional day in a 13-month year, a lunar cycle is 28 days, 28 times 13 equals 364, plus 1 day, 365 days in a year. Osiris is usually depicted with the crook and the flail having 3 branches reminded me of Shiva's trident, another masculine archetype who has 3 aspects like Scorpio Osiris, and whose theme of creation, destruction resonates with death and rebirth. This theme doesn't need to imply suffering, but is here to express the movement, action, masculine aspect of life, creating cycles, different forms and shapes and transitions into different worlds. To sum it up, as seen on the constellation maps above, Orion Osiris masculine and the Taurus feminine are pointing at the Silver Gate feminine, and Ophiuchus Isis feminine and Scorpio masculine are pointing at the Golden Gate masculine. This is a perfect mirror representing how balance is needed in all things. And Libra used to be included with the Scorpio constellation. Scorpio was often depicted as holding the scales of Libra, which signifies balance. So the path that goes from the galactic center towards our sun through the Silver and Golden Gate is the Milky Way, which was considered in ancient Egypt to be the celestial river upon which Osiris's boat is sailing. Many other Egyptian deities are pictured on boats that resemble wormholes. Silver and golden gates can explain the essence of feminine and masculine energies, and symbolism attached to it has been widely used in our world. I believe it can tell us a lot about the dynamics of our reality. There is surely more to discover about this, and I will keep publishing my research about it on this blog. So I wanted to bring something else up regarding the masculine and feminine energies, and it has to do with the Luz bone. And we know in the Bible, Jacob fell asleep in the city of Luz, and that's where he had his dream about angels ascending and descending from a ladder to heaven. So we know that the ladder actually represents the spine, and that is the raising of the Kundalini energy, which allows us to resurrect from death to resurrection, a rebirth. So in Jewish tradition, the Luz is a small, indestructible bone located in the spine. It is believed to be the seed from which the body will be rebuilt during the resurrection of the dead. The Talmud and other Jewish texts discuss the Luz bone, particularly in the context of its unique properties and role in resurrection. So, I believe Ophiuchus is represented by the spine. And also, looking here in Wikipedia, in Jewish mythology, the luz bone is actually located in two different locations, possibly. So the luz bone is a bone in the spinal column that houses the soul of the human body. In Hebrew, luz means almond, though in some editions of the Bible it is translated as hazel. Jewish traditions teach that the luz is the bone from which the body will be rebuilt at the time of resurrection. And of course, as we know, the story of Isis is her collecting all of the body parts of Osiris. So it's a story of resurrection and then birthing the sun. So Rabbi Shraga Simmons teaches that destruction of this bone by cremation could prevent resurrection. Not sure about that. Anyways, interpretations disagree as to where in the spine the luz is located. Some say it refers to the small almond-shaped bone at the top of the spinal column, the first cervical vertebrae C1 or the atlas. And we now have the, we know it's not a comet, but we have the C1 atlas. So we have the 3-eye atlas, the interstellar object that many of us do not fully understand. So I believe this has something to do with the luz bone, or the mythology here, which does relate to our reality somehow. So we're raising that Kundalini energy. This is the return of Christ. Of course, Christ has to have his feminine counterpart for this, for us to fully ascend. You have to have the feminine and the masculine balanced. So as I was saying, the spinal column, the first cervical vertebrae, C1 or the atlas, underneath the brain on the top of the spine, the bone where the knot of the teflon rests. Other tradition, however, identified it with the coccyx at the bottom end of the 18 vertebrae. The Talmud, for example, mentions a small bone at the end of the spine identified as the luz by some. Julius Prus discusses the rabbinic views on this and agrees that the luz refers to the coccyx. Similarly, Saul Lieberman also mentioned that popular Jewish tradition identified the luz with the end of the spine and understand it to be the coccyx. Within Midrash, there is an Agada, non-legalistic exegetical story involving a dispute regarding the luz bone between the Roman Emperor Hadrian and the Rabbi Joshua ben Hananiah. Hadrian asks how man would be resurrected at the end times, and Joshua replies it would be from the luz of the spine. When asked to prove his claims, Joshua demonstrates the bone's apparent indestructibility. It could not be softened by water, cremated by fire, crushed by a mill, and when placed on an anvil and struck with a hammer, both the hammer and anvil were broken, but the bone remained undamaged. So I am drawing parallels here from the Silver Gate and the Golden Gate, from the coccyx all the way up to the first cervical vertebrae, the C1 or the atlas, which somehow is related to the 3-eye atlas, the interstellar object. Not sure exactly how, but I think that there is some correlation here. And now I'm going to go back and and show you an interesting website I discovered. It's the city of Luz. You see here we have the two hemispheres of the brain united. So we have alchemize. We've done the great work, the alchemy here of masculine, feminine energies. And the city of Luz is an interdimensional city of higher consciousness that unites all branches of knowledge and fields of experience. Luz is the biblical site of Jacob's angelic dream, also known as the house of God and the gate to heaven. Luz is an impenetrable city in the ancient land of Israel that can only be entered through a secret cave, hidden by a hazelnut, or more commonly the almond tree. And as we know, the first menorah in the Bible was instructed to be made out of an almond tree. So I think it would make more sense that it would be an almond Luz tree. Moreover, we are told that after it was conquered, another city also named Luz was built in another eastern country, a virtual Shangri-La, where there is no death and only the truth can be spoken. He built a city and called it Luz, that is its name until this day. Judges 1:24. Luz is also the rabbinic code for the mind of Moses, the body of Metatron, and the heart of the Messiah. It is the secret of the brain's mysterious pineal gland, the seat of the soul. Within the essence of Luz lies the secret of transformation and resurrection, an actual place that virtually anyone can be shown how and where to find. Luz is also a map into the secret, higher dimensional world of the Jewish rabbis, the Talmudic sages, and the masters of the Kabbalah. Luz is a language of the ancient past, as well as the language of the higher dimensional future. Continually evolving, City of Luz website is a spiritual laboratory, the culmination of over 35 years of systematic study of Torah, science, and Kabbalah. A coherent and interdisciplinary Torah-based meta-system, it offers the beginner as well as the advanced Talmud Chacham, traditional Torah scholar, secular academician, and scientific-minded a unique approach to cosmo-geopolitics, higher consciousness, and life's everyday struggles. City of Luz offers an easily mastered arsenal of methodological tools that teach both conscious, left-brain textual learning and direct right-brain spiritual experience. The Secret of Luz provides a seamless interface bridging every field of Talmud, Halakha, Jewish law, and Kabbalah, while allowing the serious practitioner to interface even Torah herself with every school of science, theology, and mysticism found among the archetypal 70 nations of the world, both ancient and contemporary. The system and methodology of Luz is the missing key to open up the virtually indecipherable 200-year-old secret end times teaching of the Gaon of Vilna, Rabbi Eliyahu ben Shlomo Zalman, the genius of Vilna, Lithuania, 1720 through 1797. Within City of Luz, you will find essays and blogs in which to participate, as well as MP3s. So I definitely recommend visiting this website here. You will find some really interesting information to help connect all the dots. And it's really exciting to find this information, because I think as a collective we are now ready. We're ready for the next level. We're ready to ascend out of a time of ignorance into the age of Aquarius, which is the age of knowing instead of believing. So thank you for listening. Have a great day and be blessed.